Thanks. Call this meeting of the full board of Aldermen to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderman Bosley.
Present.
Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Alderman Page.
Present.
Alderwoman Negracia. Alderman Coder.
Here.
Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther.
Here.
Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Martin.
Present.
Alderman Stevens.
Here.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Here.
Alderwoman Peel.
Present.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer.
Present.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vaquero.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Negracia. Alderwoman Rice.
Present.
Alderman Balmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Collins Muhammad. 26 present.
Quorum being present, but before we begin today's meeting, I ask everyone to please join me in a moment of silent prayer. As we noted last week, evangelist Rachel Hankerson, the wife of Bishop Hankerson, passed away. Her services are to be held tomorrow. So please join me in a moment of silent prayer so that hopefully that'll lift the family up and give them strength during this most difficult time. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. We will suspend with our regular order of business to take up our courtesy resolutions calendar. Alderman from the 19th, you recognize on the motion for our courtesy resolutions calendar. Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion for our courtesy resolutions calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Am I unmuted? You hear me? Okay, thank you. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Moved by
Second.
the Alderman from the 10th, second by the Alderman from the 22nd. We have resolution number 53 by Alderwoman from the 14th. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we're honoring Tina Winkleman as she winds up her career of operating Cotter's Bar on South Kings Highway. She's operated for the past 37 years. And before that, she worked at, for those of you that have been around, what used to be the Court Plaza Bar and Cafe, where jurors were brought, sheriffs, judges ate. It's where the current hockey arena is now. So Tina served the city. She's always been great in the 14th Ward, being active in the community. And I want to recognize her and make sure that her name is entered into our records for posterity today. And she will be celebrating next weekend her final days at Cotter's Barn Grill. She sold it to a new person. So I just thought, because she was so good and really supported the community, I think it's worthy that we recognize her.
All right, is Tina with us?
She wasn't able to sign on. Her husband has a new phone and they're not quite sure how to work it. So she said she will get it next week. I'm going to show you the resolution. She'll get it next week. And I told her I'd send her the link to watch it on YouTube. So,
well, congratulations from all of us members of the board and the community at large. Tina, enjoy your retirement. So let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Alderwoman Peel, you recognize. Alderwoman from the 17th, you recognize on resolution 55.
Thank you, Mr. President, and board members. Yes, I would like to recognize courtesy resolution 55, honoring Dr. Jonathan C. Smith. He was the first diversity officer at SLU University, and he passed away at 61 years old on Juneteenth. And I had worked with him as a consultant regarding the clock tower accords after the death of Michael Brown, and assisted him with looking at two of the clock tower accords and how we could move those forward. He passed away unexpectedly. He had a stroke 11 days before. He was a brilliant and amazing man. Not only in his intellect was he amazing, he was a musician and a poet. In this resolution, a couple things I wanted to note. He loved James Baldwin and Audre Lorde. He also loved his family and his daughters. He was called the girl dad because he had 3 daughters. He actually had a vision of this when he was at school, that he was going to have daughters, and he ended up having 3. One line that I wanted to mention in the resolution that beautifully puts together who he was. His mind was an orchestra that poetically imagines Black future on a jazz note. And St. Louis's Black Rep just came out on the 15th of last month, from June 15th to June 30th, a piece of his. And I think that is very befitting that this musical and dance piece of his was put out before he passed away and is still playing online. So I just wanted to again recognize Dr. Jonathan Cedric Smith. His memorial was yesterday. Over 500 people attended. It was over 300, or it was over 3 hours long. It was beautiful. And I know the SLU Billikens and everyone else, his family and friends, are going to miss him. But he was a champion for diversity, inclusion, and equity. And SLU is actually honoring him by naming the clock tower accords where there were protests at SLU right after Michael Brown's death. And they're going to be honoring him in the new year, new school year, by naming the clock tower at SLU in the name of Jonathan Cedric Smith. So thank you regarding recognizing this powerful and brave man.
Thank you, Alderwoman, for the 17th, and what a wonderful tribute and recognition of the life and legacy of Dr. Jonathan C. Smith. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends at this time. Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Thank you, Alderwoman from the 17th, for bringing this resolution and for bringing the board's attention and the city's attention to Dr. Smith. I did not have the pleasure of knowing him personally, but watching the outpouring of support and grief and just love for him in the past few weeks has been incredible to see. And so I would, in honor of that, like to add my name as a co-sponsor to the resolution, if you're amenable.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also have been touched without knowing Dr. Smith, have been reading quite a bit about him in the last week. And I just wanted to ask if we could add resolution 55 in bank.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderman from the 19th, that we make resolution 55 in bank. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Create another copy of resolution 55 in bank. Any further discussion? Alderman from the 17th, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I just wanted to note that his creative work by the St. Louis Black Repertory Theater is called Do I Move You? And I think that is very poetic. Do I move you? So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolutions calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll return to our regular order of business. We will, introduction of honored guest, Senator Alderman from the 23rd.
And as always, and I know he's listening in because he was texting me, I'd like to have my good friend Greg Meyer as my special guest.
Welcome, Greg Meyer. Alderwoman from the 1st.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As you know, if you live in what's now called the 1st, but used to be the 20th, you live to be in the hundreds. So my next door neighbor, Edith Cooper, tomorrow will turn 101. She is in the house of her uncle, who she came to live there 15 years ago, and Mr. Williams came within a few days of becoming 103. On Maffett Place, we have had now 5 people that are African-American that have turned 100. That is some kind of record, okay? So
it's all on Maffett.
You gotta live there. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So that is just so special. Edith Cooper is so special to me, as was her uncle, who lived by himself after going through 2 wives. He lived by himself until he was 100. And then Edith came to take care of him. And now she's turning 101. She is a pleasure to live next door to. And she's my resource. I have always, on both sides of us, we have always lived next door to people in their 80s or 90s. Hundreds, and so one of these days we're probably going to catch up with them, but not for a while. But she still gets around. We talk as often as possible. She's a wonderful person. And as I said, I think right now we have 7 people in the ward that are 100 and over, 1 that's 103. So Edith is promising me that that's what she's at least going to be, 103. And I just want to wish her a very happy birthday and tell you what a special honor it is to have her as my special guest today.
Happy birthday, Edith. Let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you for that, Alderman. Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th, like to wrap us up?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Today is July the 1st. It was on this day in 1979 that Sony invented the Walkman. And the Battle of Gettysburg started in 1863. But this is also Chicken Wing Day. And also in 1846, Adolph Sax patented the saxophone. Aren't we glad his last name was not Adolph Telly? You guys get it? Telephone.
I didn't get that one. I'll catch it soon. Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes dated Friday, June 25th, 2021.
Alderman from 10th, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move for approval of the minutes from June 25th, 2021.
It's moved by
Second.
Alderman from the 10th,
Second.
seconded by Alderman from the 14th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda. Has been placed in the alderman's mailboxes.
Dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills from any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills from any of our informal calendars? We will dispense with line items 8 through 10. First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 70, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in First Street from Angelica Street southwardly to its terminus in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 in the Charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 71, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance recommended by the Tax Increment Financing Commission of the City of St. Louis, approving the City Foundry St. Louis Tax Increment Financing TIF Second Amendment RPA 2 redevelopment plan and the revision to the redevelopment project for redevelopment project 2 described herein, making findings with respect thereto and containing the severability clause. Board Bill 72, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the execution of an amended and restated redevelopment agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and FAPA Partners LLC, a financing agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and the Industrial Development Authority of the City of St. Louis, Missouri, prescribing the form and details of said agreement, authorizing other related actions in connection with such agreements, and containing the severability clause. Board Bill 73, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the City of St. Louis, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bonds, Series 2021, in a principal amount of not to exceed $125 million, authorizing and directing the taking of other actions and approval of and execution of other documents as are necessary or desirable to carry out and comply with the intent hereof. Board Bill 74, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Lexington at the eastern curb line of Kings Highway Memorial Boulevard and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 75, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 68455, authorizing the Director of Streets to open the permanently closed San Francisco Avenue 387 feet east of the eastern curb line of Kings Highway Memorial Boulevard and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 76, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Ashland at the western curb line of Marcus and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 77, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Theodosia Avenue, 75 feet east of the east curb line of Union Boulevard and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 78, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Paulian Place at the east curb line of Union Boulevard and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 79, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Cope Brilliant Avenue, 75 feet east of the east curb line of Union Boulevard, and contain an emergency clause. Board Bill 80, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Greer Avenue, 375 feet east of the east curb line at Union Boulevard, and contain an emergency clause. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee.
To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 70, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 80. To the HUD's Committee, Board Bills 71, 72, and 73. That is the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
The following board bill was reported out of HUD's Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 28, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis and the following alderpersons: Evans, Todd, Coder, Cone, Ingracia, Narayan, Collins Muhammad, Clark Hubbard, Martin, Howard, Gunther, Pam Boyd, Page, Navarro, Peel, and Jeffrey Boyd. An ordinance establishing and creating a planned unit development district for city blocks 1868, 1880 to be known as the Veterans Community Project Plan Unit Development District, and containing a severability clause and an emergency clause. The following board bills were reported out of Neighborhood Development with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 43, sponsored by Alderman Page, an ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for the 1428 Warney and 2514 Blair Avenue redevelopment area. Board Bill 52, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated May 25th, 2021 for the 3834 Virginia Avenue area. Board Bill 60, sponsored by Alderwoman Evans, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated May 25th, 2021 for 3813 through 3853 Garfield area. The following board bill was reported out of Streets with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 56, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in the easternmost of the 20-foot wide east-west alley in City Block 4233 as bounded by Fort A, Thatcher, East Railroad, and Antelope in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with the Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 of the Charter, and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. The following board bill was reported out of the Parks Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 32, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro and the following alderpersons: Howard, Schweitzer, Stevens, Rice, Green, Gunther, Peel, Todd, Cone, Page, Spencer, Martin, Narayan, Ingracia, and Clark Hubbard. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the Director of the Department of Human Services on behalf of the City of St. Louis to accept the grant award from Fourth and Oregon nonprofit corporation in the amount of $60,000 for the purposes of funding transportation services to 2 senior centers to provide home delivered meals for senior citizens in the City of St. Louis, utilizing electric vehicles containing an emergency clause. That is the extent of second reading report of standing committees.
We will dispense with line item 14, perfection. Alderwoman from the first. Alderwoman from the first.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, members of the board, I request that you place Board Bill 40 on the perfection informal calendar, please.
All right, Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Place Board Bill 40 on the perfection informal calendar. Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to inquire about Board Bill 40, so it's on the perfection informal calendar. So okay. I'll do it next time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Perfection consent.
Board Bill 20 as amended, sponsored by President Reed and Alderman Collins Muhammad, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 71025 concerning the establishment a policy for the disclosure of potential conflicts of interest and substantial personal interests, and the reporting of certain personal financial interests as required under Section 105.483 Revised Statutes of Missouri, and in lieu thereof, enacting a new ordinance reestablishing and affirming said policies as required under Section 105.483 and containing an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the perfection consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from 10th.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from 23rd. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt a perfection consent calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
Third reading consent.
Board Bill 10, 33, 35 as amended, 36, 53, 54, and 55.
Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion for the third reading consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the third reading consent calendar.
Moved by
Second.
Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 23rd. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we had third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. 28 aye votes.
By vote, sustain the motion of Alderman from 10th and third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading, report on engrossments.
Board Bill 10, 33, 35 as amended, 36, 53, 54, and 55.
All other business being suspended, the president shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading the resolutions.
We have none.
Second reading.
We have none.
Under miscellaneous unfinished business, I've gotten calls from a number of aldermen inquiring about some bills. So we inquired about some of them. We got information back from the clerk this week that Board Bill 13 committee substitute and Board Bill 14 committee substitute, which the board passed, signed, and sent to the mayor's office. Those two board bills were for roughly $2 million in funding for mental health and COVID relief, COVID funding for contact tracing and mental health services. We sent the bills over to the mayor's office. The mayor's office informed the clerk this week that they have lost the bills. They have not been able to locate them. They lost them. So after the meeting today, we're going to get new bills, which I will sign. The chairman of rules will sign, and then we will have to send them back to the mayor's office for signature, back to the mayor's office. But those bills were passed on March the 27th. Due to the nature of them being funding that we needed for mental health services and additional contact tracing for COVID, we had emergency clauses in the bills. It's been over 20 days, so they will kind of automatically go in. But just want to notify the board that I will be getting additional copies of those bills, signing them, getting them back into the, to the clerk and to the chairman of rules and to the register. So that will happen directly following the meeting. But again, the bills were lost and they haven't been able to find them. We have a receipt that the clerk is in possession of that shows that we did indeed deliver the bills. Her staff has notified us that yes, they did receive the bills, but they had somehow been lost. And then I think the total, I'm told that the total was roughly $1.7 million, somewhere in there. Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to confirm that these are my board bills from this session. You said that they were passed in March.
No, I said May.
You said March, but okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I meant May.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were talking about the same.
They wouldn't have been passed in March. Thank you for that.
Okay.
It was May 27th. Yeah, thanks. Alderwoman from the 1st.
Thank you, Mr. President. My hand was up because if they were passed in March, then I would have been the chair of rules. And that's why my hand was up. I'm like, well, that was under the other administration and we're just finding out, okay? Who's supposed to sign this? So, but I understand misspeaking, okay? The other day I couldn't get anything right and I don't drink coffee, anything. So sometimes you just misspeak. I
need to get my coffee. As you can hear, my allergies are acting up this morning like crazy. So, but
your wife told me she bought a cat coat.
Yeah. For my anniversary.
That's correct.
It's
all right.
May 27th. Please let the record show that. Thank you. All right. Announcements.
Monday, July 5th, the office will be closed in observation of the Independence Day. Tuesday, July 6th, 2021, Transportation and Commerce will have a meeting at 9 a.m. via webinar. HUDs will have a meeting at 9 a.m. via webinar. Thursday, July 8th, 2021, Public Safety will have a meeting at 9 a.m. via webinar. And Friday, July 9th, 2021, full board meeting, 10 a.m. via webinar. That is the extent of the announcement.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 1st.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, Streets will have a meeting on Thursday at 11 a.m.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Streets Thursday at 11 a.m. Alderman from 26. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I didn't know I was going to get called on this fast. I'm sorry I've been on my meeting from the car because I've been on mommy cab duty this morning. But I wanted to announce, I know everybody's excited about the holiday, but the holiday before the holiday, July 3rd, is National Crown Day. And if you remember, our board has passed the Crown Act in the city of St. Louis, and we are very proud of that. And so in order to celebrate and mobilize the nation against hair discrimination, we use July 3rd to bring awareness and attention to it. There are a few events going on locally, but you can also participate in things virtually at thecrownact.com, or you can just post a pic. And I always say a selfie, and you can make sure you hashtag Pass the Crown, hashtag Crown Act STL, and tag the Crown Act and Dove, and make sure that you smile and let everybody know that you support the Crown Act.
All right. Thank you for that, Alderwoman. Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. There is an event this evening from 6 to 8 p.m. at Keener Plaza. It's called Deadline for Democracy, and this is being held by the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition, or the Indivisible Missouri Coalition. The Missouri Dance the Vote is involved. It's the battle to preserve free and fair elections. It's the 50th anniversary of the 26th Amendment that allowed 18-year-olds the right to vote in the U.S. And there was a Supreme Court decision expected this morning. And so as Congress is, as the Senate is still holding up our voting rights bills, we are rallying to support our right to vote and the future of our democracy. So also confirmed speaking are County Prosecutor Wesley Bell, Sarah Kenzior, and Denise Lieberman. And if you've never had the opportunity to hear any of these folks speak, this would be a great opportunity. So again, tonight from 6 to 8 down at Keener Plaza.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Thank you for that. Alderman from the 10th. You recognize on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we excuse the Alderman from the 21st for necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 22nd. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
One day somebody needs to vote against that. So motion
Okay.
carried.
We're gonna get a roll call going.
Motion carried. Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn to July 9th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh,
No.
Aye.
we stand adjourned. See y'all. Have a safe holiday.
Everybody.